Now for some bad news. For the past 20 years, the Indian average in this section has been at 2 or a 2.5. And this is one of the biggest reasons why most Indians don't end up making the cut to big schools. In this video, we are going to look at a few reasons why this happens very frequently. The first section of the GRE is going to be the analytical writing assessment section. And this is one of the sections that most people ignore or overlook. And consequently, you are also bound to be underprepared for this section. The problem is, number one, with a lot of trainers. Most trainers also call this just the essay writing section. And that is where all our problems begin. When you're writing an essay, what we tend to do is just give our opinions. But the analytical writing assessment section looks for a lot more. So, what does the analytical writing assessment section look at? Now, in the analytical writing assessment section, there's only one question for you to answer. That is the issue task. Now, why is it called the issue task? It all begins with the name. An issue is something which arises out of a difference of opinion. If it's a problem, it has a solution. But when it's an issue, it means that there are conflicting views. Now, the thing with views is that you can't say a particular view is right or wrong. Remember, the same is true for every opinion, whether it is yours or somebody else's. There is no right opinion, there is no wrong opinion. There are just opinions.
And the issue task expects you to take cognizance of this.
You must remember that every opinion counts, every opinion has worth in it. And only giving your opinion indicates that you are presenting a very one-sided view. And this can be a disaster when it comes to your scores. So why is the analytical writing assessment section so important? All the top universities, say the top 150 universities, have a specific requirement for what you need to score on the analytical writing assessment section. Now, the analytical writing assessment section is scored over a maximum of 6. And most of the top universities require you to have at least a 4 and a recommended 4.5 in this particular section. Now, for some bad news. For the past 20 years, the Indian average in this section has been at 2 or a 2.5. And this is one of the biggest reasons why most Indians don't end up making the cut to big schools. We are going to look at a few reasons why this happens very frequently. Reason number one, like we already mentioned, the analytical writing assessment section expects you to analyze an issue. You are not expected to write an opinion essay. So always remember, while your opinion matters, the other opinions also matter equally just as much. So when you're attempting to respond to the issue task, make sure that you present your opinions, but don't stop there. You must also consider opinions that might or might not agree with your opinion, while also treating them absolutely neutrally. Point 2. Always remember, it's not about big words. The moment we think about GRE, the first thing that comes to our minds is fantastic vocabulary using big words that no one has ever heard of. But the analytical writing assessment task looks for clarity. As long as your sentences are clear, that's all that matters. You do not need to use big words. You do not need to use overly complex sentences. Your sentences need to be accurate, clearly understandable, and precise. Good word choice is important, but good word choice does not mean using big words. Clear, simple sentences that convey your point exactly in a way that you would want to convey to someone whom you're speaking to is what analytical writing assessment gives you a score for. The third and an equally important point is examples. Now, we are used to giving examples of things that we are familiar with, but in the analytical writing assessment task, remember, your examples need to be universal. It's not enough that something has happened to your friend or something has happened to your cousin or your family member or you yourself. The examples need to be universal. Anyone from any part of the world should be able to read, understand, and more importantly, identify with the example that you're presenting. If this is missing, once again, you're score can drop remarkably and drastically. So please remember, when you're giving examples, these should be universal, something that anyone from any part of the world can identify with. Remember this. For the fourth and the final point in this video about analytical writing assessment is that whenever you're talking about an issue, you're talking about a difference of opinion, and a difference of opinion does not have a solution. So when you're attempting to respond to this task, do not present solutions. We are not superheroes, we are not solving the world's problems. We are arriving at a logical endpoint. After presenting multiple viewpoints on a particular topic or a particular issue, you need to close down at where this issue could end. We are not trying to resolve the issue, we are not trying to solve the problem. We are analyzing the different viewpoints and we are coming to a conclusion. And this conclusion, please remember, is not a solution. This is called a logical endpoint. So what is a logical endpoint? Let's say we are talking about which school is better, a co-ed school or a single-sex school. Now, in the world, co-ed schools exist and so do single-sex schools. So, now we can't really say that one is better than the other. So what would be a logical endpoint discussing both co-education schools and single-sex schools? The logical endpoint would be, it doesn't matter which school you go to, as long as the final goal of you being a civilized, educated citizen is achieved. That is a logical endpoint. We are not trying to solve the debate of which school is better once and for all, because there is no end to that particular debate. It boils down to one's personal choice. So the same way, whenever you're presenting an analytical writing assessment response, understand that you're not presenting a solution, you are presenting a logical endpoint. I hope this helps. So, what is the secret behind the scores of analytical writing and why are they important? The first thing that you need to remember is that in analytical writing, a small increase can mean a quantum jump in how GRE perceives you to be. For instance, you're going to be looking at a table on your screens right now. This will explain what the analytical writing assessment scores mean. So you have a band of 2, which will mean that you have a percentile score of 2. What does that mean? A percentile score of 2% means that you are in the bottom 2% of the scoring. Now, let's go a little higher. Look at 2.5 and it has a percentile score of 8. That still means that you're in the bottom 8%. And because we Indians end up looking at analytical writing assessment as an essay writing section, we only look at one opinion, ours. We do not breach the barrier of 2 and 2.5. We rarely, if ever, even go into 3s. But what happens if you do end up getting a 3? Look at the scores again. From 8, you jump to 18. That means you're in the bottom 18%. Not a very good number, but still definitely better than 2.5. Now let's take a 1 point leap. What happens if you get a 4? Suddenly, you're in the top 40%. 60% of the people have scored less than you did. And a 4.5 will mean that you're in the top 82%. So it means that your scores are among the best there is. You fall into the category of the top 18% of GRE scorers. 82% of the test takers have scored less than you have. So this is the reason why most top universities expect you to have at least a 4 and a recommended score of 4.5 in the AWA section. Now, do you really think that you should discard this and overlook this section? I suppose not. So how do we start preparing well for the AWA session? Number 1, GRE does not give you a random topic. Now, most people do not know this, but there is a preset pool of issue topics that GRE has available free for you to access. The link for this is in the description below. Every question that you get in the actual GRE test is only going to be from that particular pool. And this is even more of a shame. because we have all the questions right in front of us, days, months, years before you're actually going to take the exam, and we still end up getting a low score. It's not really going to present a really good picture of what we are as a student, right? So the first step to preparing for the analytical writing assessment task is to download the pool of issue topics. Number 2 is understanding the structure of the question. Now, an issue task has 2 parts. First is the issue itself, which is followed by a question. So how does it look like? In front of you, you have an issue topic. Now, the topic is about people relying more and more on technology to solve problems and the ability of humans to think for themselves deteriorating. Now, first, let's keep the issue aside. Let's start looking at the question. Look at the first part of the question. The first part is asking you to write a response in which you discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with the statement. So that is where you start giving your opinions. But the question doesn't end there. Look at what it says further. It is asking you to explain your reasoning for the position you take. So not only do you explain your position, you are expected to give a reason. And like we discussed earlier, any reasoning that you give should be supported by universal examples. Then the next part. In developing and supporting your position, so indirectly GRE is asking you to both develop and support your position. You should consider ways in which the statement might or might not hold true. So GRE is expecting you to weigh the statement, weigh your own opinions on that statement, and see if you realize that there might be instances where your opinions might not hold true. And this is the crux of AWA. Not only do you present your opinions, you should be open enough and unbiased enough to understand that it is not every time that your opinions are right. You should be willing to consider situations where your opinion might not be true. And then look at the last part. It says, explain how these considerations shape your position. So after considering the ways in which your opinions might not be true, by considering other viewpoints which do not agree with your opinion, you need to bring all these things together, which means you're arriving at a logical end point. And that is how you respond to an issue task in the AWA section of the GRE. Hope this video has been useful. At First Academy, these are things that we do on a regular basis every day in our sessions, whether it is in our classrooms or online. How do we do this? For the past 23 years, we've been at the forefront of GRE preparation, be it our online classes or in-person sessions. And how do we bring out this excellence? We train by being students ourselves. We take the tests and then we write books on them that have helped thousands of candidates across the world. Our sessions help students make the jump from scoring a 2.0 in analytical writing to as high as a 5.5 or even a 6. And this comes from our deep understanding and dedication. I hope you found this video helpful. And if there are any particular aspects of GRE that you'd want us to discuss further, please let us know in the comments below and we'll be happy to address those for you. We are making a series of such helpful videos on the GRE, so please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and recommend all your friends, whoever is planning to take the GRE, to watch these videos.